easy. I got to ask you this question. Between yourself and your brother Harvey, prior to getting involved in pro wrestling, were you guys fans?
Well, I was a fan because I go back a long way. So in the world of sport, which was as you know, historically, 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon, ITV1, the whole country stopped, and everybody, because it was after the football results, 5 o'clock on the Saturday afternoon, the whole country stopped. Everybody sat in front of their television and shouted at the screen, you know. And when those guys like, you know, Giant Haystacks, Big Daddy, Jackie Pallo, Mick McManus, all that crowd came to town, they used to play in a place called Seymour Bars, which was a indoor swimming pool actually, which I think they turned into a ring, you know, and we used to go along. And believe it or not, here's the world of sport book from sport name. So the world of sport and was responsible for the success of wrestling in this country. And it was, I can give you the dates, perhaps I can't. But anyway, some of those guys, as you know, we're talking about a guy called Johnny Saint. That mean anything to you?
Yep, I know the name.
Yeah. Obviously Big Daddy and Haystacks and all that. So they became a big kind of commercial business until the chairman of ITV said, I don't want to get involved with this wrestling anymore, I'm fed up. And he took it off, and that was it. And he, who I got to know later on, always said to me, for God's sake, don't mention the world wrestling to me, because I get threatening letters 20 years later. He then went on, his name was Greg, he then went on, believe it or not, to become the chairman of BBC.
Oh, wow.
BBC weren't the right company for wrestling, but he got threatened for many, many years. He was responsible for the demise of World of Sport wrestling. Until we came along a few years ago. But there we go. So, you know, I've got that magazine. I've got another one here, actually. I just discovered another one. World of Sport Annual. That's another version. Same thing, which featured that. But I used to go, you know, it as our kind of Saturday outing. All these who were part of the scene, best part, because they sat in the front row and hurled abuse and handbags at the wrestlers as they got out the ring. You know, you probably heard all this stuff before, but
yeah. So
it went. Yeah.
Now the two World of Sport magazines and the SummerSlam program, is that a package deal? 300,000 pounds.
Oh, at least.
At least.
Well,
everything's for sale.
I take dollars, no problem. It doesn't have to be pound. I'll throw in the SummerSlam. I'll throw in this one, which is the German tour. There's a first German WWF German tour with Brett. Their first tour of Germany, you know, which was another big sensation. I'm not sure what year it was. But that was a program that they toured. We took WWF to Germany, Holland, France, South Africa. Amazing experience in South Africa. We took them to Israel, which is even more unbelievable place where we took them to. I always remember in South Africa, they had an event in Cape Town, and they brought out a guy who was dressed up as a hated politician. He was a very racist politician, and he hated the black guys, and he strutted around the ring like Hitler, you know. It was an act, but he actually they threw bottles at him and chairs and the whole thing. Unbelievable that was. And the other amazing thing is that event was sponsored by a fried chicken company called Nando's.
Yeah.
And every day Nando's would arrive with a van and send all these chickens backstage. And the guys would probably sit there eating a whole chicken, you know, a great big massive, you know. And suddenly Nando's now is one of the biggest catering chicken supplying companies in the world, you know, and they got their outlets everywhere, you know. It's quite amazing. And that was their very first kind of sponsorship deal, was with World Wrestling Federation in South Africa.
They probably lost money catering chickens to those guys.
Yeah, probably. I did remember seeing Andre the Giant eat about 3 of them in about 1 minute. That was an experience.
Do you have an Andre the Giant story at all?
But there isn't. I can't remember what it was. All I remember was sitting down next to him in a restaurant, and his hands were as big as the table. That's all I can remember, you know. And he ate these chickens in one hand, massive thing. And there was another guy who was his name was Yokozuna. He was about 600 pounds or something like that. I think his name was Henry, and I think he came from the Bronx, but he played the part of a Japanese sumo warrior. And so one day we were in Paris, and the bus to take the guys to the airport was at 8:30 in the morning. And if you're not down there at 8:30 in the morning, they leave without you. Too bad, it's your problem. Anyway, I came down one day at about 9 o'clock or 9:30, and Yokozuna was standing in the foyer of the hotel, and he said, "They've gone without me, they've gone without me, what's going to happen?" I said, "What the hell are you doing here? Why are you still here? You should have been downstairs at 8:30. He said, "You don't know what happened to me." I said, "Well, what happened?" He says, "I was sitting on the john in the bedroom there, and all of a sudden I'm lying on the floor because the toilet had collapsed under his weight. And I'm swimming around in piss and shit and all this kind of stuff, and I can't get up." Oh, I said, "What's happened?" He said, "The water's flooding everywhere."
Oh.
So I said, "Well, if you don't get to the show was in Southampton or Bournemouth, sorry. If you don't get to the airport, you're not going to get to the show, and they wouldn't be very happy with you." So I managed to arrange for him to get a flight to a different airport, and for a car to pick him up at the airport and then take him on to the gig. But what I didn't tell the car company, this guy weighs 600 pounds. So they sent on and the first thing that happened, apparently, I wasn't there at the time, first thing he pulled the handle off the door. That's the first thing that happened. When he got into the car, it collapsed onto the floor. Oh dear. Anyway, he was lying around there at the airport. They managed to find some truck to take him down to the show. He got there in time, apparently. That was another funny story.
But the rest is history.
Yes.
Now I want to be very respectful of your time, because I know it's a little bit later in the United Kingdom. As we talked off air, and Martin, I could talk to you forever, but we talked about me starting this lockdown session. Wrestling travel, as you know, we bring fans from around the world to their favorite wrestling events. Well, all that has stopped. The last one we were able to do was Wrestle Kingdom in Tokyo in January. Now, we're hopeful that everything starts back up again, but we'll throw the merchandise on the back table for right now, but your business has seen the same
absolutely
that we have done. What have you done? Is it mainly all you really can do is concentrate on the merchandise, or what have you done?
Well, there are obviously there's a lot of musicians who get together on Zoom, and they'll give a kind of a concert, or I mean, you saw it there was a charity event where the Rolling Stones did their thing all on their little screens. There's lots of companies that have, like the Albert Hall will do a session with a singer, no audience, no band, just a singer, and that goes out live. And usually, people either asked to contribute to musicians who need the money, or to the crew and all that kind of stuff. The world of course, the world of classical music is even worse, where they've got an orchestra with 60 musicians and singers. You know, it's completely in the doldrums. They are trying to do a few outdoor shows with social distancing, which is just starting to happen. But obviously it's a very kind of small amount of audience who would turn up against who normally would. They've had the thing that's happened, interestingly, the one success story is the world of outdoor cinema. And there's you know, these companies have set up where people buy a carload of people. They go into an outdoor cinema and sit in a field or in a racetrack or a venue and watch a film from within their car. But, you know, to me, it doesn't, to me, if you know, the kind of movies they're showing like Grease or Back to the Future and all that kind of stuff, it's not something that's going to excite me. But people are so frustrated, they're going, you know. We hope, we can't, my brother's trying to put together a concert at the Albert Hall, which would feature Jules Holland, and he would give his time with his whole big band and guest artists to show the government that the industry, the live industry, is capable of putting on live events, although with a slightly reduced audience. And the whole thing was that when you go into the venue, you have to queue up to be tested, and it takes 90 seconds to test somebody. So we're trying to prove to the government that this can be done, but so far they haven't come back. They're still humming and hawing about it, and that is what's going on. You know, I personally, I cannot see, like in the world of cricket, for instance, where you get maybe 20,000 people maximum, while they can't have 10,000 people in there, let people, you know, socially distance. In the world of horse racing, for instance, there's no audience whatsoever, but the areas that they're using is vast, you know, so there's no reason why there can't be an audience there. In the music, in the live event business, music-wise, again, the audience will probably always be reduced, but there's absolutely no reason why it should not happen. As far as our world, you know, the world of wrestling, it's a bit of a different story, where it's a contact sport, isn't it? So it's amazing me that it's still carrying on without an audience. Why is that?
Well, I'll tell you what. On August 7th,
Yeah.
I went down to Chicago, Illinois, for a promotion called Warrior Wrestling, who did their event in front of 500 fans at an American football stadium.
Right.
Temperature testing, hand sanitizers everywhere, masks on.
Right.
You set cones out. You were, I believe, 15 meters would be the correct term.
Wow, really? 50 meters? Wow.
500 fans.
Yeah.
And it was live. So they were starting to do it right. There's a promotion, something going to happen in Dallas, Texas at the end of the month. But that was the biggest show in North America since this pandemic started. Of course, Japan has had better luck with the coronavirus.
Yeah. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, that venue, what would it normally hold?
That would normally hold probably 2,000 people, but you know, with the bleachers. But now you're talking about, they put chairs right on the field. You brought your own chair.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That much. So it was. They got about 500 people was the last count I heard. So.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, you know, what's happening here now, of course, there's lots of breakouts. So like last night, locally to where we live, there was all these illegal raves going on. And there was hundreds of kids come out, you know, electronic music and raves. And the police raided it, of course, you know, and it got pretty violent because it was illegal. That's the problem, it's illegal. But I'm sure if they decided that eventually, if it has to be done where, like at that show that you were at, that people are tested when they go in. You know, it's not that difficult. but you know, we got to get the government on our side, and they've got to help us. There's no doubt about it. They've got to help us. We can't see any return to the venues. I mean, we're involved with a lot of tennis events, by the way, and there are a few tennis events going on with no audience whatsoever. And the big tennis event at the end of the year in London is called the ATP Final. So they get 250,000 people there over 10 days. They could easily put it on and maybe just get half that audience in there. You know, as far as the players are concerned, they're not touching each other or you know, getting there, but it's not going to happen. So the event's being cancelled, basically, you know. So it's a tragedy for everybody. And obviously the biggest event in the world was the Olympic Games. So that's gone till 21. That's finished. SummerSlam would sell out in about 5 minutes, wouldn't it, normally? So there's no one going to be there, is there? Nobody. And maybe the pubs and bars that show it on TV and the hooked on wrestling kind of thing will probably do very well, I should think.
Right, and that's the thing we talked about off camera is,
yeah,
the general person thinks, well, these big athletes and musicians, they have enough money. They don't think about the economic impact on the roadies, the people that depend on that.
Absolutely.
Beer distributors, it's insane.
It is insane. Lighting guys and sound guys, you know, the people who, even security companies, you need security. So, you know, they're all out of work. There's nothing happening. There's nothing going on. And the big festivals, we had music festivals, about 10 of them, you know, maybe probably 1 million people who are out to enjoy themselves, but they're not there. And all the ancillary side is gone. So who knows what's going to happen. I did notice in China, in Wuhan this weekend, there was a mass gathering of people, and they were all in rubber dinghies or rubber boats at a rave. Maybe that's the answer.
Well, maybe that's
maybe that's
you guys got a lot of water over there.
Exactly. In Wuhan, that's where it all started.
Where it all started, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I always ask people, I got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
The final, you're still doing the merchandise. The merch hasn't slowed down. We saw some really wild examples, but can you, everybody watching, where do we go for merchandise? What are the socials? What are the websites?
Well, okay. There's a new company we've set up, actually, which is now we'reeventmerch.com. By the way, I haven't spoken to you about WOS, have I? World of Sport.
No, please do.
You about that?
Well, we talked about the old school.
Yeah, the old school. Well, the brand World of Sport, people still remember it. We revitalized it, and we put together a World of Sport, WSW, because what happened, ITV did a tribute to World of Sport old days, and they did it 2 years ago. So it was a one-off show, and they referred to the old days. I had a few of the old legends turn up, but they created some bouts with all the kind of best guys that the UK scene had to offer. They put it out on television on New Year's Day, which was a bit of an odd day to put it on. But anyway, yeah, it got very well received, very well received. So we then made a lot of inquiries. I was up there actually. It was a pretty good broadcast, and we made some inquiry with World of Sport, ITV, about who owns the rights for the brand, etc. It turns out they own the rights, but they were happy to sell it to us. So there was 3 of us involved. One of them was a studio where in Norwich, where we decided to put on some live shows. We got some great talent together, and they recorded 10 weeks of television in 2 weekends in the studio in Norwich. Really, really good. Production was excellent. The guys put their heart and soul into it. So it came back as World of Sport Wrestling. It went out on a Saturday Saturday evening, 5 o'clock, to replicate what happened in the old days. And the response was great, really great. I mean, we got, the only down part was, I suppose, they put it on in the months of August, when a lot of people are on a holiday, which is not kind of the best time to put out something like that. But nevertheless, you know, we, on the first few shows, we got up to 1.2 million people. ITV were delighted. They then did a repeat showing on a Saturday evening at midnight. They even did some early Sunday morning shows of our hour to get the little kids on Sunday morning, and it went on. It went on for 10 weeks, and we were, you know, ITV we appeared to be right behind it. All the executives who were there at the time appeared to be right behind it. So we then decided we put on a tour. World of Sport Wrestling tour in the kind of medium-sized venues, 2,000, 2,500, which were great. But what was really good about it, which was the impressive thing, is that the audience were a family audience. So the people who'd seen it on television brought their little kids along. There was mums and dads and kids, you know, and that's what we've always been searching for, is that new audience, you know. So at the moment it's a bit of a hiatus, because we're waiting for ITV to make their decision whether they're going to do another season later in the year. And the guys, we haven't had any more live shows because, you know, the guys have got other things. Well, they had other things to do, let's say. They haven't now, but they did. So we'll see what happens. But we were very confident in that brand, WOSW, World of Sport Wrestling. True British, as they say. No foreigners, you know what I mean? Those Yanks, none of those people are allowed. So it was really good. So we're looking forward. That's our next ambition, to bring that back and then, you know, take it touring. Of course, in the meantime, AEW have suddenly appeared on the scene, have taken a hell of a lot of the thunder from everybody. I must say, watching their stuff is quite amazing. What those guys get up to is quite amazing. You know, they get up to a few moves that I've never seen before. I'm not sure who's behind it. Do you not agree, or what?
Oh yeah. No, I do. It's just you know, it's sometimes it's a delicate balance between pro wrestling and gymnastics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, did you sell World of Sport? I mean, obviously you own the brand, but when you guys did some tours, did you got World of Sport T-shirts and merch out there?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. There's still the sites there, World of Sport Wrestling site, you know. Event merch wrestling is still there, and there's we've just set up a new site where we are it's kind of made to order stuff, a bit like Pro Wrestling Tees, but we're the English version of it, and it's just starting, you know. We're signing up most of the UK wrestling scene, so that will be. It's just launching now, actually. So that will be happening, and we'll do a little publicity for it in the next few weeks.
What is that called?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Oh yeah. Okay. Awesome. We'll look for it.
I can't remember. I'm going to look it up. Can you believe it? I'm too old. I can't.
That's
remember.
all right. Well, it's not that you're old. You got a lot of stuff going on.
My problem is I'm 79. So how much longer am I going to keep going?
As long as you can, right?
79 I am. I got to worry about the name of a t-shirt company. Can't remember what we're called.
I'm trying to figure out.
It's ridiculous. What are we called? I don't know. But anyway.
Well, we'll figure it out. I think I think you guys have been in contact with us.
Probably. What are we called?
Trying to figure that out.
There's a guy called Dean in my office.
Event merch. Yeah. Event Merch Central or something.
Yeah. Right. There's a guy in my office called Dean. Have you ever come across him? He was known as the Genesis. He did quite a lot of wrestling, and he's pretty good. He's in it. We're lucky enough in my company to surround ourselves with some really good guys who understand that whole world, and they're quite respected in the world.
Right. Well, we'll figure this out when we edit this all out, what it's called. So
yeah.
And we'll put all of the socials, how we can follow World of Sport, how we can
yeah. Have you
buy
seen this?
merchandise.
Have you seen that?
Let me the Undertaker comic, is that the Dark Horse comic?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I actually think that's quite collectible. That's quite collectible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The I don't know what, from a company called Chaos Wrestling, Chaos Comics. Don't know what year that one was from.
Now,
and then, yeah.
People are going to wonder, some of these great things that you're showing me here on camera, would those be some of these one-of-a-kind items be something that would be for sale eventually?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. We actually sold quite a lot of one-off stuff recently. So we're now going to put together another collection, and it will be on Shopify in a few weeks' time, you know, of all this kind of one-off stuff, which probably, you know, they're all out of print, stuff that you can't find anywhere. And we probably still got it all somewhere. I'm not very good at archive. Look at this one. Look at this. This is interesting. Well, did I show you this? Did I show you that?
Oh, there you go. That's awesome.
That's the artwork for the Intercontinental title. And then that's kind of an old Undertaker bit of artwork, which I found the other day in a cupboard. You know, and I got things like interesting items that were given, which were made like as presents to the Vince and Linda and all that one-off bits and pieces. You know, I don't know what this is. This is Diesel. What did he do? This is a CD.
Kevin Nash.
Diesel.
A cassette.
Cassette, yeah, cassette. If you remember what that is. Oh, there's my friend. Here's my friend.
There he is, Yokozuna himself.
That was a front cover of a German tour. We did it for Germany and Israel. A wrestling tour, '94. That was in.
You know what's impressive is not only are you pulling this memorabilia out, but it looks to be in pristine condition.
It all is. It all is. Is this something that you can vend for us through your site and earn something out of it?
Yeah, we can talk off camera here, and we can definitely
absolutely
work something out. Yeah,
a lot of this stuff. I mean, this is the first Impact Wrestling program. It's all in perfect condition. You know, I've got Steve Austin jackets. I've got the Hardy Brothers. I think they were a tag team, weren't they? They did a tag team stuff. You know, I found a hip flask that we use as a present for Vince and all that crowd. We got a few of those things. There was even a perfume spray for something that we did, some show we did some of them. I found a few of those. I saw that in Twitter when I was trying to do my due diligence.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh, right.
Posted. Okay. I just started following you on Twitter prior to this because I thought, well, is this guy on Twitter or not? So you guys in the UK I'm not very good at it either. How about title belts? Do you have title belts laying around that you know of?
Oh, yeah, I've got a few of those, yeah.
There you go. Well, we are connected with the wrestling fans, so we will talk off camera.
Absolutely.
On how we can help each other.
Wrestling travel. I mean, had they planned a big party to go to SummerSlam this year?
We had planned a huge party for Tampa Bay for WrestleMania, and we had a few people. Obviously, people kind of look at WrestleMania as the big event. We had a few for SummerSlam. We were hoping to get a lot more. But what's happened is a lot of our people have deferred in hopes that WrestleMania 37 in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, really, because with the music events and festival events, a lot of people have done exactly that. They haven't asked for their money back. In fact, a huge percentage have not asked for their money back. and hopefully they defer to the next event that's going to happen. So that's good to hear in a way. In a way, that's good to hear.
And we did the same thing with some like WrestleCon. We had gotten a table, and I called WrestleCon and said, we don't want our money back because everybody's asking. It's hard for everybody. Let's just defer to the next year.
When was WrestleCon this year? When was that? Should have happened.
WrestleCon was going to be WrestleMania weekend, which I believe was like April.
Oh,
5th.
I see. Right. Okay. Okay.
And we had, of all people, going to be at our table, we had Knobs and Segs, the Nasty Boys.
Oh, really?
And we were going to bring them to some of our events. We had pulled out all the stops, spent money we didn't have at the time to get some more of these wrestling talents to show up at our private parties for the people traveling with us. So.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I like those guys. You know, they're good. In fact, I've got one of them was at WrestleCon when I was there. I'm not sure it was in Normsey. I think it was.
Norm's probably, yeah. And he's one I'm trying to reach out because he was at SummerSlam '92.
Yeah.
One of the guys I'm trying to get for Paul Benson and Hooked on Wrestling for the weekend, but it's tough to get a hold of everybody right now.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And I'm sure they're looking in terms of money as well.
That's the thing too.
Yeah.
Everybody. When I talked with this independent wrestling expo that we're sponsoring, the guy told me you wouldn't believe how many people are really. I mean, you would, but people are hurting all over.
Yeah.
So. But the wrestling fans are ones that give back, and this weekend you guys are going to be able to give back to the Cauliflower Alley Club, which helps wrestlers who are physically hurting, financially hurting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're looking forward to that. I want to push that. I want to tell everybody that this Sunday, Hooked on Wrestling, and we'll have all the stuff up here. You're going to hear from yourself. Paul Benson is putting on a wonderful event, a SummerSlam 1992 watch long prior to the live event, or however they're doing it, SummerSlam 2020. And there's going to be SummerSlam stories from yourself, Tito Santana, Jimmy Hart. And hopefully some of these other guys, if we can help Paul get some people. Be good. But my final question has nothing to do with wrestling, Mr. Goldsmith. I want to know.
Bruce Springsteen, don't you, on Broadway?
Well, you know what? I'm lucky. One of my friends does some tour managing for Springsteen, so I've been very lucky to see him a lot of times. And he puts on the last one I saw was in 2016 at Madison Square Garden. He did the entire album of The River, which was magnificent.
I'll show you some. Have you got a minute? I'm going to get
absolutely. I got all the time in the world.
1 second.
No problem. So as he's grabbing stuff, guys, this is awesome. We're getting to see talking to a legend about legends. And now he thinks I'm talking to myself, but I'm talking to you, the audience out there. So as we await.
Right. I'm not going to undo this because it's priceless. But I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if you can see it. So what this was,
oh wow!
This is a box set that Bruce did put together. What happened in June the 26th, 1993? He did a concert for one of his staff who had cancer. Her name was Christine Carr. So I'm not sure how many CDs are in here, but anyway, it's a huge collection. And what happened, we were working with Bruce at the time in Europe, and on the same day, the very same day, Luciano Pavarotti was given a concert in Central Park, New York. And I was there for Pavarotti. And suddenly I get a call that said, why don't you come down to Madison Square Garden, because Bruce is doing this tribute concert in aid of one of his staff members, and it's going to be at Madison Square Garden. So I said, okay, fine. So we trundled off down the road to Central Park where they were setting up Pavarotti's concert, I don't know, 150,000 people or whatever it was in the park there, and go down to Madison Square Garden, and Bruce was, I think it was about 6 o'clock or something, and I thought to myself, I can't be here for too long because I've got to, we've got Pavarotti up the road there. So, once he started, you just couldn't leave it. Like 4 hours later, he was still playing.
He still goes, yeah.
We're still going. And I thought, I've got to get back to Central Park, which was just coming to the end. I rushed back up there, and they're all going mad. Where in the hell have you been? What have you been doing? I said, well, no, I didn't feel well. I said, I'm not well, that kind of stuff. And so anyway, we all got one of these boxes, and in this box is, as I said, I've never undone it, so I'm not going to undo it, but there's probably 10 CDs in there. And it's Bruce Springsteen. He did it for his member of his staff. That's a treasure, isn't it?
Priceless. Yeah, that's awesome.
June the 26th, 1993. There we go. So
We'll
that's
have to do some Googling and see what's in there. So
I don't know. I have no idea. Right, next.
Hey, we're getting a tour. This is awesome.
Anyway, next. So
I'm not
anyway,
editing any of this out.
well, I've got so much shit here, I don't even know what to say. Oh yes. So so one day, a guy I didn't know contacted me, and he said, I believe you got this huge jazz collection of jazz collection. I said, yeah, I've got hundreds of albums, because this is what I collect. He said, can I come and have a look at them? So I said, yeah, you can come down and have a look. So the guy turns up. He was a record dealer, and he was interested in all this vinyl stuff. And he picked out I had lots of albums that were signed by the artists, bands, but he wasn't interested in that stuff. He wasn't interested in any rock and roll thing. He was interested in jazz. And he went through this thing, and he picked out a load of obscure jazz records, and he offered me quite a lot of money, £5,000 or something. And I thought, God, I can't believe it. What? I thought. He said, yeah. I said, what? He said, I said, well, I'll have to, because I was a bit suspicious. I thought, I'll have to think about it. He said, what do you mean? I've offered you £5,000. I said, yeah, it's very tempting, but I've got to think about this, because I don't want to, I've collected them all my life, and it's my life. I don't want to get rid of them. So he said, and he started swearing, and I said, well, you can fuck off. And he left, and that was the end of it. That was the end of the conversation. Anyway, a few weeks later, another guy rings me up, and he says, I believe you've got this jazz collection, I'm interested in having a look at it. I said, well, I've been through this before, and I'm really interested in selling it. He said, well, then I said, well, I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of other stuff in my office. So he said, well, can I come there? So I said, okay. So I put all this stuff into boxes, and he came, and I found all the other albums I had lying around, and put it all together. The guy turns up, and he goes through the same story, picks out all these obscure jazz records, and he offered me £6,000, and I shook his hands and agreed it. And he went out to his car, and he came back with these kind of milk crates to put the milk bottle crates to put the albums in. Started packing them out, but when he went out, what happened was I couldn't stop myself. I started stealing some of them back. I couldn't bear to get rid of them. I just couldn't do it. So I stuck them under the desk. Anyway, the guy paid me and left. And a couple of days later, he rings me up, and he says, look, there's something wrong here. I said, well, I know what you're going to say. I feel very, very guilty, but I've stolen some of my albums that I couldn't bear to get rid of. He says, yeah, I know that's what you've done, and I paid you. I said, I'm sorry. I said, well, give me your address, and I'll send them to you. He said, no, don't worry about it. He said, I'll send you something. So that was it. I thought maybe he was going to send me a bomb or something like that. Anyway, a few days later, a packet arrived, and this was in the packet, and it's a box set of, you remember 78s? Do you remember what they were?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, anyway, and it was signed Frank Sinatra on the sleeve. So I rang the guy back and I said, I can't believe it. Is that Sinatra's signature? He says, yes. He said, I said, well, why did you send it to me? He said, oh, it doesn't matter. I said, but it's his signature. He signed it. He says, yes, it's 100% genuine. And I said, well, it's fantastic. Anyway, that was the end of the conversation. I could never work it out until about 6 months later. I was reading a jazz magazine, and inside it, it said the rarest and most expensive album ever sold in the jazz collection, one record. It was something like, it was a guy called James Moody with a certain number on it. I don't know what it was now, I can't remember. One record sold for £10,000. And that was mine, of course.
That was one of the own.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, he did okay, and so did I.
Yeah.
It was very,
That's awesome.
Extremely well. So that was that one. And then what do we got here? We even worked with this woman. Remember her? Liza Minnelli.
Liza Minnelli. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And here's my favorite horrible person, Diana Ross.
Ross. Yep. Okay.
Signed by
That's
Diana.
signed. That's fantastic.
Oh yes, it's signed and all that stuff. It's all signed, all this stuff. What's that? Impact.
Wrestling.
5. Impact 2013. Impact 5. It's all right, signed. That was a period when the Hulkster was in Impact.
That's awesome. And again, I can't believe the incredible shape everything is in.
Yeah, it's all signed on it. There's old the Hulkster. Happy birthday. And that's it, really. I even got Marilyn Monroe. Remember her?
I do. That's fantastic. We could look at that all day. Yep.
She's saying that. That's it.
That's fantastic. So my final question has nothing to do with pro wrestling.
Yeah.
If the world, let's pretend there was no pandemic at all, do you think that you and your associates would have been able to put 2 lads from Manchester, get them to get along for a reunion concert, Noel and Liam Gallagher, Oasis? You think Goldsmith could pull that off?
No.
No.
They don't. They don't want to do it. There's always rumours, and maybe something like a Glastonbury. Maybe that will bring them to do it. But there are always rumours they're talking, and then they're not talking, and they hate each other because each of them have carved their own career, as you know. And but you could see in the future a Glastonbury when all of a sudden they're together and they love each other. Maybe that's what make it happen, and all peace in the world. But at the moment, the answer is no. Money. I don't think money comes into it. They just don't want to do it. They won't want to do it. It's rather like, if the Stones, they've been together for so long, which is amazing, really, isn't it, when you think about it? All these years.
And I look at them, and then I look at Mike Love and Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. They've tried it a couple times, and it just cannot make it work, which is unfortunate.
I mean, even when we saw Steely Dan, they were over here a few years ago, how they broke up, and the band still sounds the same. They're exactly the same. The sound is exactly the same, but there's not the original guys in it. And I always remember, I've forgotten the lead singer's name now, but anyway, whatever his name is, he said, you've got to forgive us because between us, we're 350 years old. And if we had to stop and go to the loo, the toilet, you'll understand. Of course, everyone did because the audience were the same age group.
Yeah. One other question, and this might be odd to ask in case you had nothing to do with it, but on public television over here, PBS, years ago, maybe a couple of years, I saw Carole King do a live outdoor concert.
Yeah.
Was it Hyde Park?
Correct.
She sounded amazing.
I could not. I was there as a guest. I had nothing to do with it. I could not believe that she could sell that place out and do that show that she did. And it was amazing. It was amazing. There's no doubt about it. You know, obviously the musical, which has been going, we saw it in New York a year or so before. In fact, believe it or not, the day we went, she had appeared at the venue in New York as a guest, sitting in the audience the day before we went. But I was there actually at that Hyde Park event. Yeah, quite amazing, really.
Yeah, I couldn't believe for however.
Yeah,
she sounded, if not as good, but better than the records that, you know, she sounded great.
It's all about the songs.
All about the songs.
Listen,
All right.
Elton John is on his farewell tour, and it's been going on for 3 or 4 years. You know, we work with a band called Aha, which is a very famous European band. They've been on their farewell tour for about 4 years now.
It's like pro wrestling. Everybody's on their farewell tour.
Always farewell, exactly. You know, Steely Dan, they come over here. It's their last ever tour, but that was, by the way, I went to the Rolling Stones' last ever show, ever, 10 years ago. And they said that, this is our last ever show. We can't carry on. That was 10 years ago.
All right. Well, something to look, we could do this forever, but we've got to, it's late.
I understand.
We've got to talk about, I want everybody that's watching this to make sure they go over to Hooked on Wrestling.
Absolutely.
This Sunday, a tremendous event that Paul Benson and the boys are putting on, a watch along. They're going to talk to a lot of those that know that we're there. Martin, I would love to do a part 2 of this and just talk music with you someday. Right. So we'll have to set it up. All right. But for right now, as far as our recording, we're going to say thank you, and we'll see you on Sunday. Thank you so much.
Okay, all the very best. Are you hosting? Are you the host on Sunday?
No, we are just sponsors. No. Paul Benson's hosting.
All right. Okay, fair enough. Okay, well, let's hope we get a big audience.
We will, and you don't hang up on me right now. We're just going to end the recording.
Okay, no problem.